is the topic today. The universe is busting with power. It's bursting with power. While at the same time, human nature has this insatiable craving to have the love of power. I mean, God shows the power of love, and the world wants the love of power. They want to control. So how do we unlock or unblock our potential? How do we tap into the unbelievable supply that God has already given to us? It has to be there. And isn't this the reason that Christ came in the first place? I mean, to save us from the sins of the world, to defeat the enemy, the workings of the enemy? Sure. So, and those are the things that stop us from receiving the things we really should see. And so today I'm going to take you through a few verses starting in Genesis, and we're going to the New Testament, and we're going to see what a human is designed to have, what a human is designed to be and to live by. And this is the only way we'll ever find our true abundance, whatever that might be for us. When I was 17 years old, I picked up the Bible and read it from cover to cover. And I'd never read that entire book before. In fact, I don't really remember ever reading it before. And as a child, I did at times memorize a Bible verse or two, but that was to obtain a delicious popsicle at the end of the day of vacation Bible school. But I'd never read the whole Bible in its entirety. And that summer, I moved back home after a year away, and I had experienced some of the worst of humankind while on my little journey. And I had seen friends die. I had seen other acquaintances turn into murderers. And then high school girlfriends allow themselves to be prostituted. And this is all in that year. And I was raised in a decent neighborhood. So it's just crazy what can happen in different societies at different times. I also witnessed numerous Jesus freaks pestering me. And they seemed to have this pie in the sky attitude that I was going to have either a great afterlife or I was going to end up in hell, depending on if I listened to them or not. And so, I was really wondering, what's the point? Who's right? I knew I didn't want to live the way that a lot of my friends were, because most of them were ending up dead or severely injured for some reason. And then these other people just seemed a little bit freaky to me. And so I wondered, was there more? And I hope so. And I had an insatiable thirst and a spiritual hunger that led me to the Bible. So I cut my hair, I quit my friends, I moved back home, I went back to and finished high school, and I went from group to group to group trying to find somebody, anybody, who could show me how to walk with the power that I saw in the Bible. But I found none. I found groups that taught it, but they didn't really live it. And when I read about the spiritual power and this amazing love that was sprinkled throughout Scripture, I was stunned and intrigued at both the same time. And I'd never seen spiritual power, other than a few of the curious arts of modern spiritualism. But mostly what I saw in Christianity was people bored out of their minds. And it's because of their life choices and how they allowed themselves to become driven or pushed. At the same time, those same people were downright evangelical in saying that their boring lifestyle was the way. And if you don't listen to me, you ain't going to make it, boy. And I thought, man, I hope this isn't it. If that was it, I wouldn't be standing here now. And so I thought, who was right? What choices did I really have? Was it boredom or dominion? Was it tedium or was it power? See, my life was about to make a shift. And I thought that maybe that ancient book which we call the Bible, might just contain some keys that would help me, as well as help me help others, which was a driving passion even at 17. And there were two parts to my adolescent puzzle. And one was, where was the spiritual power? And two was, where was the love? Because I really hadn't really seen either, other than familial type love. And I knew that spiritual power was designed to be intertwined with love. It was pretty clear, especially when you got into the New Testament. But how did I find it? And I read a quote today, and it says, "Love doesn't make the world go round. Love is what makes the ride worthwhile." Franklin P. Jones from the early 1800s. You know, love is what makes the ride worthwhile. So how do we hop on that train? How do we get on that bus? How do we clamber aboard that rainbow, so to speak? So go to Genesis chapter 1 if you'd like. And I'm going to read it from a version called The Voice, and only because it's more dramatic. And it says in verse 25, we're going to read 25 through 27, it happened just as God said. God made earth creatures in a vast variety of species, wild animals, domesticated animals of all sizes, and small creeping creatures, each able to reproduce its own kind. And God saw his new creation was beautiful and good, and God paused. God, now let us conceive a new creation, humanity, made in our image, fashioned according to our likeness, and let us grant them authority over all the earth, the fish in the sea and the birds in the air, the domesticated animals and the small creeping creatures of the earth. So God did just that. He created humanity in his image, created them male and female. Then God blessed them and gave them this directive, quote, "Be fruitful and multiply, populate the earth. I make you trustees of my estate. So care for my creation and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that roams across the earth." End of quote. I thought that was nice. I guess in a sense, every day is Earth Day for us. I mean, if we're the stewards or the trustees of his estate, this has got to be big. And this is tied to something earlier in there. It talked about make man in our image. And most of us have been taught what this means. And God's image is what? Spirit. And also, what does God call himself? Love. Light. You know? So that is what man is designed to be. That's the root and the guts of humanity. And without that, we'll never accomplish what we could accomplish. We'll never see what we're really designed to see. But with it, we will. With it, we can have all the abundance that God promised us. There's a reason we don't see it. There's a reason we don't find it. There's a reason people are bored out of their skulls. I was wondering why so many young people, so many of the millennials now are gravitating away from mainstream Christianity and trying to find something else, some group. It's because they want action. They want something. That's why the Muslim youth is being radicalized, because they want to do something. They want to accomplish something, good or bad. People are tired of being bored. They're tired of mainstream anything. You know, and so the only way to break out of that rut is to learn how to walk by the Spirit, learn how to think spiritually, see spiritually. That's how we can find our abundance, find the things that we desire. Go to Matthew 18. See, our design as humans is to function freely in this life, to function freely in this world and to utilize the spiritual power we've been given. That's how you have dominion. That's how you really steward yourself and steward what God's entrusted to us, which is everything. We're the children of God. But those are just words for most of us. Sons of God with power. It's just words. We just go through our life and we think the way that the world thinks, and we dress the way that everybody else on earth dresses or in our culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's got to be more. Inside we have to dress differently. We wear a different set of clothes. We're clothed, inside and out with Holy Spirit. It's big. It's huge. We're going to get to that when we come to Pentecost in a little bit here. If this is our design, to walk with power and to have dominion over everything, how hard can it really be? How hard can it be? If that's our design, babies, you don't have to teach them to walk. They're going to try to stand up on their own, don't they? Most babies. I see people walking little kids around like that, trying to get them to walk, but when you let go, they fall down, right? They're going to walk when it's time to walk, right? They're usually going to talk, a normal child, when it's time to talk. Some early, some late. My daughter started at 9 months and didn't stop. My son didn't want to talk till he was 3. He did, but not much. He sort of grunted, and my wife knew what he was talking about. He didn't have to talk. He had an interpreter. So now Matthew 18, we're going to go read 18 through 20. And these few verses intrigued me a long time ago when I first read them, and they intrigued me again recently. Take this, I'm going to read it from the Message. Take this most seriously. A yes on earth is a yes in heaven. A no on earth is a no in heaven. What you say to one another is eternal. I mean this. When 2 of you get together on anything at all on earth and make a prayer of it, my Father in heaven goes into action. And when 2 or 3 of you are together because of me, Jesus Christ, you can be sure that I'll be there to love and comfort you. Of course, that's true, isn't it? And what does that mean? Just how connected are we to the heavens? How connected are we to God? How connected are we to eternity? It's so close, folks. It's closer than our skin is to us. The problem is we just really don't expect it. We don't believe it at times. And that's where we don't have everything we need. It's almost that simple. It's that complete trust, that utter, total, complete expectation and trust that a child would have, that Adam and Eve had to have. God told them they had dominion. They didn't know any different. Okay, duck, fly. I mean, whatever. What does dominion mean? What does it mean to you? What do you need? What do you want? What do you gots to have? What do you gots to have? How much power do we really have? I mean, if you were given power, if humanity with a spirit of God, now not just regular old body and soul humans, but people who know how to operate that and who know that there's a God to back them up, I mean, it's limitless. It's limitless. I was thinking, is this saying that when we live at this level of love and power, that even the ascended Christ will check us out at times. I think that's what it's saying. Remember he said, I'll be there? 2 of you? I mean, that's pretty, now I was thinking this was written in the gospel. So probably where people were doing this stuff, he did physically want to be there. Wouldn't he have? He would want to be where the heat of the word was. Wouldn't you? Don't you? Sure you do. Well, even now, he's got to want the same thing. I was thinking how true power is attracted to true love. Also, that power is attracted to power. Power attracts power. Think about young professionals. They want to go where the most powerful, dominant presence is so they can learn and they too can replicate that. Well, what about us? We have the greatest, we're attached. The greatest power in the universe dwells within us. Do we see it? Do we believe it? Do we expect it? I think we do. And if you think about it, the Christ is attracted to, if the Christ is attracted to this power and this heat and this love and this light, then his counterpart, what do we call that? His counterpart? The devil? The devil's not the counterpart of God, because nothing can relate to God. He would be the antithesis, the opposite of Jesus Christ, the Christ that's alive now. And so it's not Christ chasing the devil around trying to catch up and clean up his mess. It's the adversary is chasing Jesus Christ around, trying to dismantle, trying to undo what the good that he's done, while the Christ is doing the same thing. I mean, it's a messy thing going on right now, and that's why our lives are harder, because we got 2 forces going against us. I mean, two working against us. One for us, one's against us. Excuse me. And so don't you think the devil's going to be attracted? Because light attracts attention. Love attracts attention. So Luke chapter 10, 16 through 21 from The Voice. Jesus Christ was talking here. And he said, listen, disciples, if people give you a hearing, they're giving me a hearing. If they reject you, they're rejecting me. And if they reject me, they're rejecting the one who sent me. So go now. And when the 70 completed their mission and returned to report on their experiences, they were elated. Imagine the things that these guys saw when they went out. And here's what the 70 said. It's amazing, Lord. When we use your name, the demons do what we say. And some of you have experienced that, talking to somebody and they get cleaned out, so to speak. And Jesus said, I know. I saw Satan falling from above like a lightning bolt. I've given you true authority. You can smash vipers and scorpions under your feet. You can walk all over the power of the enemy. You can't be harmed. But listen, that's not the point. Don't be elated that evil spirits leave. When you say leave, rejoice that your names are written in heaven. Jesus Christ brings it all back home. It's not about you. Not about how much power I have or how many people I prayed for and got healed. It's not about that stuff. And I think that's a real trap many Christians fall into. They take it upon themselves. And that's not the point. Just be thankful you were called, that you're known. Imagine, God knows everything about you, and he called you from before the foundation of the world. That's a long time ago. I want you, boy. I want you. And so we're known. You're famous. In a way. But you want to be famous to God. I mean, nothing can take your place. I was at a doctor's office yesterday and doing a job, and the guy, I was in his office talking to him a little bit, and he said it's amazing how all of us play a significant part in the function of this world, and every single part is necessary. Doesn't matter the job, doesn't matter the person, the race, the color, the size. He said every one of us plays a part, and every one of us is necessary. And I thought, well, that's good. It's a good thing to say. See, the lifestyle of love and the lifestyle of power seems so logical and so simple. When I talk about this, yeah, of course, God, the Creator, He lives in us. He can do anything. He's we got Holy Spirit inside. But why don't we get it sometimes? Why does it elude us? If we've been given power over the earth, as well as over all evil, which we have, what can stop us? And the answer should be nothing. Really, nothing should be able to stop us. I recently read an article, very good article, about the most isolated people on earth. The Yanomami Indians of the Venezuelan Amazon. And scientists discovered recently that this group of people have the most diverse collection of bacteria ever found living in and on a human body. And they found that the Yanomamis have 60% more diversity of bacteria than the people of the United States. And their diverse microbiome has beneficial health benefits like the preventing the forming of a kidney stone. They don't have that problem. Also, it's possible that their bacterium will take care of it. It eliminates immune disorders, allergies, asthma, and even diabetes. And all they do is just live off the land. But whatever happened, whatever bacteria has gone with them, I mean, it's different if you were a C-section or a vaginal birth. You have a different set of bacteria that you got from your mother. The different areas of places you live, the different people you've been around, the people you love, that you've hugged, that you've kissed. It all makes a difference. The food that we eat, everything. They have 60% more variety than we have here in the United States. And the lower that, and the more we try to stop it, that we try to control the bacteria and such, the less we have, because we live so clean that now other diseases are popping up. So it's sort of a catch-22 kind of thing. And Lita Proctor of the National Institute of Health said, quote, "The more diverse your microbiome, the more those microbes bring properties to your body that you might need," end of quote. See, these healthy bacterium, they contain genes that are the missing triggers that switch on healthy genes inside of us that protect us. So I think maybe a little variety is good. Traveling might be good. There's a lot of things that are good, but it's different. Now, the reason I brought up this study is because I wonder if our lifestyle and our society has kept us from or forced us away from, at times, our promised deliverance. If everything's already been supplied on earth, everything, health, wealth, whatever, then why don't we have it? And so now this shouldn't make us, I don't want you to go and move to the Amazon. That's not the point here. because if God promised to supply it, he didn't say you had to move to the Amazon in the Bible, right?
Right.
And so our only advantage over everyone else on earth is the Spirit of God. So it's got to be able to bring us what we need, but we have to totally and absolutely and confidently with conviction accept and expect it. You pray, expect to get healed. You pray, expect to have your need met, the job to come. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, doesn't it? Sometimes it takes a process at times. So how do we get it back? If everything we will ever need has already been supplied, what could be missing? The answer should be nothing. Like, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Right? Like it says in Romans, isn't that Romans? Shall tribulation, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, sword, all these things in heaven, things beneath, nothing shall separate us from the love of Christ, right? Nothing. Well, nothing can separate us from the love of God because he dwells in us. It's impossible to be separated from God. You think he knows your little need? Yes. He just asks us to ask. Why? If he already knows it, why do we have to ask? Because, like somebody just said, because we need to know it. He needs to know that, and we need to rely on God. And it helps set our belief, and it's just setting a goal when you pray. It's setting a goal when you ask. 1 John 3:8 from the Voice says, the one persisting in sin belongs to the diabolical one, and who has been all about sin from the beginning. That is why the Son of God came into our world, to destroy the plague of destruction inflicted on the world by the diabolical one. I love that. To destroy the plague of destruction. But I think things about me, things that have happened, there's certain things you get destroyed. You get sick, you get hurt, you see the scars. I mean, every single scar you have on you, probably you can remember when it happened, unless it happened before the time of your memory. It triggers it. And so what about all the good? What triggers that? How do we remember all the good? Isn't that what stymied the apostles so many times? They just forgot to remember. So every day, take the time and remember what God's done for you. And that's one of the ways that we can begin to destroy the plague of destruction. Remember the bubonic plague back in the 1340s? I'm sure you don't remember it. One of you does. Okay. An old feller there. And so this plague, they think, killed up to 50% of the population of the world. And you know how it was cured? By living clean, eating clean. Yet today, this group of people, this group of Indians, Amazonian Indians, they live better than a lot of people who live clean. They eat dirty. So what's it mean? So that's where God has to supply your need. He's promised it. You live too clean, you get sick. You live too dirty, you get sick. Like the bubonic plague. All I had to do is just sanitation. Eradicated it from the world. Must have been a real dirty world, if you think about it. It's hard to imagine. They just did not understand, hygiene and sanitation, even though it was written all through the Bible. Now, some cultures do believe in hygiene and sanitation, even some primitive cultures. And they usually have lived pretty good until outside forces came and destroyed them. See the Yanomami Indians, they have remained healthy because they eat less processed, in some ways. And I could think more and more the youth of today, and maybe some of you, you're trying to eat what they call in the 70s, macrobiotically, eat stuff grown in your own area. A lot of people won't buy anything that was grown more than 300 miles away from them. They'll only buy honey that was from bees close. And there's something to all that, because you are where you live, right? And so remember, we're talking about sin here. Sin is nothing more than basically limiting ourselves by placing limits on how much we believe in a good and giving God. Like somebody said earlier, it's limiting God. That's our biggest, the way we limit God is limiting ourselves. We just don't really think he can handle our problem. How many people have to get raised from the dead before we see it? How many things do we have to read in the Bible before we believe it? Maybe a lot. Maybe a few. We go through phases of our life where we're seeing things happen all the time. Then we go through phases at times where we don't seem to see anything. Why? It's just the way of the world. The system. How many miracles did Jesus do before he was 30 years old? None? Now, wasn't he perfect? So, if you're perfect, shouldn't you be able to do miracles like crazy? It seems like it, right? But Jesus Christ was perfect, yet he was not powerful until he received Holy Spirit when he was about 30 years old. What about us? We're not even close to perfect. But at times we've all walked with power and seen power manifest in our lives. I mean, it's incredible what God's given us, this gift. We're so far beyond what the world has to offer. There's a few more verses I want to read that'll help unlock our human potential. And I think one way is we have to remember our original design. The original and most important design of humanity is the Spirit of God. That's what we're designed to live with. It's like I've said before, it's like, most people live at 66% efficiency. Body and soul. It's 2/3. What would our life be like if we can live at 100% efficiency? Imagine if your car actually worked 100% right. I mean, if you have 12 cylinders, not many people have 12. If you have 6 cylinders in your car, and 2 of those aren't working, the spark plugs aren't working, will your car run? Yes. But will it run well? No. It won't. And same thing with us. It's like the whole world is as good as it is, and all the beauty that's out there, and all the incredible buildings and machinery and electronics. It was all built with 66% efficiency by people with 66% efficiency. Now, I don't know if the percentage is accurate, but you get the point. Body and soul. It's amazing what can be done. But what dominion only comes when we learn how to walk by that Spirit of God, or we rekindle that in us, so to speak. We have a desire to really get back to that. Matthew 17, from the Message, 14 through 20. At the bottom of the mountain, where they were met by a crowd of waiting people. This is Jesus and the boys. And as they approached, a man came out of the crowd and fell to his knees, begging, "Master, have mercy on my son, for he goeth out of his mind and suffers terribly, falling into seizures. Frequently he is pitched into the fire, other times into the river. And I brought him to your disciples, but they could do nothing for him." Jesus said, "What a generation! No sense of God. No focus to your lives. How many times do I have to go over these things? How much longer do I have to put up with this? Bring the boy here." He ordered the afflicted demon out, and it was gone From that moment on, the boy was well. When the disciples had Jesus off to themselves, they asked, "Why couldn't we throw it out?" Because you're not taking God seriously, said Jesus. The simple truth is that if you had a mere kernel of faith, a poppy seed, say, you would tell this mountain, "Move," and it would move. There is nothing you wouldn't be able to tackle. The perfect one said this. There's nothing you won't be able to tackle with just a speck of conviction, believing, love, light, whatever you want to call it. The Spirit of God, sort of all tied together here. See, let's take God seriously. He's promised us everything we will ever need, and He said He's already supplied our need. Now, verse in the Message, it doesn't even include verse 21, which I thought was weird, and neither did the Voice. And then I realized because it's not included in some of the more popular manuscripts, but in the Syriac, which is an Aramaic manuscript, one of the earliest manuscripts that was done in Aramaic and kept in Syria, the Syriac, they included it. And it said, "Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting." So you think, okay, well, get religious and get on your knees next to your bed and pray, and don't eat that night, don't eat from noon till breakfast, or, whatever fasting is. But let's see what this means. Now, see, these disciples had been with Jesus for a few months, and they too had Holy Spirit. And they too had cast out devils, and they had also healed people just like Jesus had. And why were they not able to cure this maniacal child? The possessed child of this desperate father. And Jesus explains that they could not cast out this deeply rooted and highly active spirit because of their unbelief, because they were still not taking God seriously, consistently. It's a training. It's a self-training regimen. It's every day. Take God seriously. Sometimes there's days where you think, God, I didn't even think much about God today. You got busy. Next thing you know, it's nighttime, and you're going, oh my God, I didn't even pray today. I didn't even think about God today. That's not taking God serious. Anyone can believe, but not just anyone has the conviction to move massive spiritual problems or massive physical problems. But remember, all problems are indirectly connected to the spiritual, right? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. So I think of most problems as being spiritual problems. Doesn't mean we're possessed, but that's where it ultimately came from. He's the one who manipulated society and the micro and macro biology to affect humanity. How do we get it back? How do we get our stack back? See, the energy that it takes to move deeply embedded spiritual problems takes a history of trust and being comfortable with operating spiritual power. I think sometimes we get very good at it, then we just forget about it for a while, and then we get back into it. I think that's just normal humanity. Things you want to do, you do. Things you don't want to do, you don't do. You don't want to do, you do. Our life gets mixed up at times. See, the handle of hard stuff in life, whether it's yours or another's life, takes energized spirit. It takes a lot of love, too. It takes a desire to serve, to live outside of your own little box. It's hard. See, prayer and fasting is simply expecting God to deliver each and every time. Taking God seriously. Isaiah 58. This would be from the King James, verse 5 through 12. Is it such a fast that I have chosen? For a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast, an acceptable day of the Lord? Do we do that? Are we doing this for show? You see, the Spirit of God will expose the posers. It'll even help us see ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to. Sometimes we don't really want to see that in our life. It's hard to take sometimes. For me, all the time. Because every way of a man is right in his own eyes, right? Oh, man. And now we're going to see what God calls a fast. And we want to believe to move deeply entrenched and integrated problems out of our way. See, fasting is not pushing away from the table, it's pushing problems away. Is verse 6, is not this the fast that I have chosen? Here's what it is: to loose the bands of wickedness. What's a band? It's like a chain, like handcuffs. To loose the bands. What is really stopping us? To undo heavy burdens. Anybody here ever have a heavy burden? Yeah, all of us have. To undo them. Take off those straps. Like taking off a backpack if you ever hiked. You get into the day, you're tired, when you take that thing off, doesn't it feel good? Or if you played sports and had to wear a lot of gear, it's nice when you feel light when you don't have all that stuff on. You see, loose the bands, undo heavy burdens, and let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke. That doesn't just mean for other people, it means for you. What is yoking us? What are we really tied to? Who are we connected to? Because if you're yoked with something, you really can't move any faster than that other. It's that old saying, it's the weakest link kind of thing, right? And if our life is built on weakest links, that's as far as we're going to go. It's a process to change. It's a change. You just got to start today. You can't start. It's like somebody said, I think it's an old Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree is today, or 20 years ago. No, the best time to plant the tree is 20 years ago or today. That's how it should have gone. Sorry. And the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago or today. Nothing you can do about 20 years ago. You can't do anything about your past, your upbringing. Forget about that. Why do we keep bringing it up? Every time we do, we just reiterate the yoke, the bondage that has kept us back. Verse 8. Did we read 6 and 7? Did we read that yet? Oh, is it not to deal 7? I'm sorry. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou shalt bring the poor that are cast out to thine house? Who wants to do that? Yeah. When thou seest the naked, thou shalt cover him. Who wants to do that? And thou shalt not hide thyself from thine own flesh, from your own family, from friends, from humans. People just get so tucked into a cubicle sometimes that being around people's a pain for them. Can you even see yourself doing these things? I'm thinking about some of them that you can. Some it's hard to do. It's really hard to live at that level. This is the fast. And wait till you see what's on the other side of this kind of fast, of living your life to help God's people, to really maintain. Our dominion isn't so that we have this and that and good and this. Our dominion is so we can help. We're the overseers of the dominion, in a sense. We're the managers of this earth, the people on it especially. Just a different mindset. It says, then shall thy light, your light, break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. And I was thinking there's sort of 4 points here. 1, the eyes of your understanding will be opened. You're going to see what was once cloaked in darkness. Wouldn't you like to finally see the answer? Got to be one. There has to be one. 2, your health will germinate like a new plant in the spring. Your loving lifestyle will be felt like a shock wave before you even arrive. Your righteousness will go before thee. That loving lifestyle is going to be felt in front of you. And the power of God's going to back you up. God's going to watch your 6. So God's in front of you. He's behind you. He's beside you. He's inside of you. He's above you. He's below you. You're totally encased in God. We're surrounded with love, if you want to think of it that way. You're in a light bubble, so to speak. You're totally cared for. It's a power that surrounds you. You think Jesus ever read those verses? Yeah, I bet he had them memorized. In fact, he became them, which reminds me of that quote that is attributed to Gandhi. Not sure if he actually said it, but they all say he did. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what this is talking about. Be what you want. Be what you want to see. Verse 9, then thou shalt call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, here I am, here I am, I'm over here. I mean, what if it was that obvious? It is. It is. When we live like that, and we need God's help, we're going to hear him say, yoo-hoo, here I am. I got your back. What do you need? Verse 9 continued. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, there it is again, the putting forth of the finger and speaking vanity. And this is about our own behavior. We're yoking somebody else. Ever got jealous when somebody else got a job that you didn't get? Or somebody got a position on the team that you really wanted. Whatever it is, somebody else got blessed this way, and I'm still working on that. That's a yoke. And the putting forth of the finger. How many of you love the pointy finger? Finger pointing at you. One of us, okay. And, and you think of it, and speaking vanity. Just blabbing, just talking about nothing. Like sometimes I just can't stand hearing about politics anymore. Sometimes I like hearing about it. But after a while, if I can't do anything about it, it's hard for me. I don't feel like running for office. So I try to work my little part, like that doctor told me yesterday. Do my little part. And it might be standing up here talking for 50 minutes. That's my little part. Or just talking for a few minutes to different customers I talk to. Whatever it is. Trying to love my wife more today than I did yesterday. That's my little part. Do something. Do anything to help someone else. Get our mind off ourselves is a big key here. Look around and see what or who else needs help. I remember one time when I first got married, my wife was quickly pregnant, and then she quit her profession, and I was only used to taking care of Mark. I was used to making this much money, and now I needed to make this much money, and a kid was on the way, so I needed to make this. My stack needed to grow, but I was still used to doing this, and so we were pretty broke. And one day we came home and there was 2 bags of groceries next to our front door. Somebody didn't ask us what we needed. You ever heard somebody say, well, if you need something, just give me a call? What I'm saying is just do it. Just do it. Just do it. If you know somebody needs something, just help it out. If you have the resources. I'm not saying go broke doing this, but you get the point. If you know they need a kind word, then say it. If you know you just need to open the door for the old lady who's walking in, it'll make a difference. It'll make her feel good if you smile at the person in the wheelchair instead of ignore them. Could be a little thing like that. Or even just praying for somebody. Just actually thinking of somebody when they're not around. Who does that? We're too busy. I know you're not. I'm facetious here. And if you draw out thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness shall be made as noonday. That's the fast that kicks out those big problems and opens our eyes so that we can find the things God wants us to see. It's just that utter, total, unselfish lifestyle where our life is for the creation. We're the stewards of it. We maintain it. We maintain equilibrium as much as we can in this life. We do that by speaking light, by speaking love, by living light, by living love, by walking with power. Not that hard, yet it's incredibly hard. See, to draw out thy soul is to give everything of you are, to pour out your soul, your heart, your mind into helping others. The disciples didn't do that. And when the problem was really deep-rooted, they weren't up to the task. So if I have a very deep-rooted problem, physical, mental, spiritual, then I need to go through these same steps. It's been in the Bible for thousands of years. This isn't new. It can't get any lighter than noontime. Your shadow is at the minimum at noontime. And so the shadow of our life, the veil, the darkness you're never going to get totally away from it in this life. But noontime, it's at the least. That's how our life can be. You can see the clearest. When we live at that level, we're no longer going to be invisible either. And the hidden things that have kept us are going to be clearly visible. We can see what's available, and we can see what we need to change. Sometimes we don't like it, like I said earlier. If you really want to see what's been holding you back all these years, here is the only way that you're going to see it. This is it, folks. You can spend your whole rest of your life talking to a psychotherapist. They'll help you. You'll feel better. But they will not be able to get to the spiritual unless it's a very good Christian kind of counselor. You can go a long way with 66%. You can do incredible with 100. Just knock off 1 point, 99%. It's not bad. Make a few mistakes. Well, let's hover up between 66 and 100, right? Somewhere, right? Just stay up there. You see, if you want to finally see the blessings that God's really wanted to give you, then basically walk this way. Here's how you do it. It's not that complex, yet it takes a lot of energy. Especially when we like to watch certain shows all the time. When our life is already set. I mean, sometimes that's just bad bacterium. It keeps us from what we really need. And verse 11, and the Lord shall guide thee continually. How often? Continually. And satisfy thy soul in drought. Look at the West Coast now. Drought, they're just crying about it. They can't get the water they need. And make fat thy bones. That was a very good thing in those days. not today. I was watching something on Lincoln last night. They had a picture of some of the most beautiful dancing actresses of the day, and they all look like we would call them chubby today. But at that time, they were the most beautiful in the 1800s. That was a standard of beauty, and they were bigger gals than what we think of today, like our models that are very slim. It's just funny how things change here. But make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. How would you like to see God work at you 24/7? How would you like to prosper in a dwindling economy? How would you like to have enough strength to live the way you dream of living? Folks, it's here. You can be like an irrigated garden with plenty of water. You can live at a level that'll help you never see the dry times. Or if you have dry times, you can get it rewatered and get it growing again. Somebody's listening in here right now from California. They live in the desert. And he told me it's just full of the blossoms and the wildflowers everywhere. But it's only like rained one time. That's all it took. From a desert to a botanical garden of sorts. Just a mist. Well, God, if God can do that for a little flower, what can he do for us when we've let ourselves dry out? Same. So verse 12, and they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places, and shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of the paths to dwell in. You're the guy who fix it. You're the fix-it man. You're the fix-it girl. You fixed my life. You blessed me. It's because you took the time to help somebody else. What was once a wasteland of a life is now a watered garden. That's the fast. And by learning to utilize the Spirit of God that gave us living water, by taking God seriously, and by looking for ways to love and serve, this is how we unlock our spiritual potential and change the world. God bless.